The way that I got involved with that was Kerry approached me when he had heard that I'd done the screen printing and asked if that was something that I would be interested in doing, and I was initially quite reluctant because I'd had experience with running groups within the prison setting, and it wasn't the way that I roll with my strengths. It wasn't what I was passionate about, so I was a bit, let's see how this goes. Now it's one of the highlights of my week.
This is Down to Earth Conversations, where we hear from ordinary people who are helping to bring a bit of heaven down to earth. Kia ora, welcome to another episode of Down to Earth Conversations. I'm Andy Dixon. Thanks for joining me for another conversation with another awesomely ordinary person who is making a difference in the world, or as I like to say, is bringing a bit of heaven down to earth. If you're new to the podcast, you're very welcome. It's good to have you here. If you don't already, it'd be great to have you following the podcast on social media. If you're on Instagram or Facebook, just search at downtoearth.conversations on both of those. And then you can see what's coming up and links back to some of our previous podcast guests and other bits and pieces that go on there. And thanks to those who share this podcast with your friends and family. It's grown purely through word of mouth, or I guess fingertips on keyboards. So I really appreciate the support I get from you all. Today's guest is Lis Rate-Smith from Drug Arm, who heads up the Art East initiative. I first heard of Lis when Pathway Trust from here in Christchurch shared a link to an article about her. As you may or may not know, I used to work for Pathway, who focus on prisoner reintegration, and I interviewed one of their key staff in my very first episode. So I've got a lot of time for them, and following them on social media, they link to some great articles talking about some really awesome people. So I followed the link and I read about this amazing human being who's using art to help people with addictions and or poor mental health and to support and upskill men in prison. In fact, at the Te Putanga Toi Arts Access Awards just a couple of weeks ago, Lis was proudly accepting the Creative Space Award for her work with Art East. It was a pleasure to sit down with Lis and kōrero about how she got into this work, what it looks like, and where she can see it going. It's another fantastic tale of using who you are and what you have to make a difference in the world. This is episode 32 of Down to Earth Conversations. Here's Lis Rate-Smith. I'm here today with Lis Rate-Smith. Welcome to the podcast, Lis.
Thank you, Andy. It's great to have you here at Art East with me.
Yeah, awesome. And for our listeners, do you want to just introduce yourself a little bit? Nōhia koe, who are you? Where are you from?
Sure. So my name is Lis Rate-Smith, and I am a drug and alcohol counsellor with Drug Arm, which is also the umbrella agency for a studio in Aranui called Art East, and I'm the coordinator of that studio space. So yes, I have been living in Christchurch for the last nearly 20 years, but born up in the North Island. So Christchurch is in Wellington.
Oh, right.
But yeah.
I'm from Hastings originally.
Okay.
Just up the road.
Okay, so I did a spell in the Hawke's Bay as well.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, spent a few years there, but I'm well and truly a Cantabrian now. So
yeah, nice.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for me. I'm bringing up Cantabrian kids as a full-on Hurricanes supporter, so it's a tricky one.
Right. Yes. Where did loyalties lie?
Yeah. So we're sitting in the studio of Art East. Lots of artwork on the wall. Do you want to tell us what is Art East?
Sure.
And where did it come from?
Sure. Yes. So the original I'll go right back. I'll go right back. So I had quite a few years ago, I was actually dependent myself on drugs, substance abuse, everything that goes hand in hand with it. And for me, I had been doing a diploma through fine art, which was up in Taranaki, actually, another place that I've lived. And I found for myself that when I stopped using substances, I really struggled with being able to express myself and knowing how to be creative, because for such a long time I had taken something for creativity and then maybe taken something else to expand that idea, and that was kind of where I got my flow from. So for me to stop taking substances, start walking a journey of being without them, it was difficult to become creative. And so I tapped back into a medium which I really loved at the time when I was at art school, was screen printing. And for me, that gave me a new form of expression. It gave me something functional as well. I was doing it on clothing that I just really enjoyed that whole process. And for me, that was a really good way to tap back into being a creative person. And I started running a bit of a small business from home, just doing clothing and different t-shirts and things and selling those. And I was still just drawn to people that suffered from drug and alcohol issues, with dependency, abuse, everything that goes along with that. And I decided to do my training to become a drug and alcohol counsellor. So I went and did that, and when I was in my first year of study, I did my placement with Drug and absolutely loved it. Loved what it is that they bring to the table as far as working with people for as long as they need, and meeting a person where they're at as well. So I absolutely love their philosophy. And when I went and did my second year placement, was at a much larger residential program, drug and alcohol treatment centre, and working in that environment, I was just really blown away by how many creatives there were within that treatment centre. And of course, this has been something that I'd noticed throughout my whole walk anyway, how many people that suffered from drug and alcohol issues are creatives. They're songwriters, they're writers, they're, looking at the arts, there's so many of them there. And I just became really reflective on my own experience with the printing coming out of that when I was, talking to these different clients of this agency about their passions and what it was that they drew strength from, and a lot of that was, things like carving and the painting and, all of that kind of stuff, the music. So I was actually offered a job with Drug at the end of that year, my second year of study, and one of the things that my manager asked me was, what is it that you want to do? What are you passionate about to do? And I thought, actually, I would really love to work with art, with people that are trying to get stable and put something in that is clean into their life, and changing out those maladaptive behaviours for something positive that's. And he gave me a shot at it. Cool. So he said, I love the idea, and so I ended up in a little church, Salvation Army in Linwood, and just a little room there, and with a couple of people, and we progressively moved from room to room within that building as the group grew, and then they had to go and have EQC repairs done. We moved down to another little church just down the road, same sort of thing happened. They were getting all their EQC repairs done, so we shifted about their building for a while. So we were very blessed to have churches take us on, but everything that I owned was stored in the back of a car, and I would unpack it every week and pack it down every week. So that would be my Fridays. And then we came and got the arty space, which is in Revive Church, and it's absolutely perfect for what we want, because it's it's got that roughness to it, and the guys just came in and they took absolute ownership on it. They literally chucked paint at the walls because I had been so needing to be so careful with being in other people's buildings and things, and so they've really taken ownership of that space. And we moved in here in 2018, and that was when we just had one of the Friday group operating at that time, and since then extended. So cool. It's been a bit of a journey. And
so the Friday thing that you do, is it a drop-in thing? Is it bunch of regulars? How does
So
that work?
it's been operating as a closed group for quite some time, and initially that was because we had reached capacity and we just didn't have the space or anything as well. And so it's not a drop-in group as such. We've got regular members here, and some of them have been with us for quite some time, because we are believers of, as long as the service is useful to you, then there's a service through through Artiste that's available to you as well. So we've kept that very closed and very protected as well, so that the people within that space do feel safe within it. But there's always avenues for new people to come through as well.
Cool.
So.
And I mean, it's been going for quite a while now.
Yeah,
You've obviously seen some benefit in doing it,
Absolutely.
other than just that you love art.
Yes, absolutely, and that's exactly it. Because really, at the end of the day, I think it's been a real point of connection for people, because they've gotten to know the staff, they've gotten to know each other, they've connected with different areas of Drug Arm, but also we do regular outings out into the community where we're going to different gallery spaces, or just all sorts of different things. We go up to the library, we use their creative resources, and we also have other Christchurch artists come in and visit too, and volunteer and do different workshops with them as well. So it's been a real point of connection for them, and regardless of what's going on externally, they know that on a Friday this place is available to them. And we've had people that have come and they've since had babies, and they've got a good amount of years clean up now, and they're in full-time employment, and those ones are still connected in, they're just not with us on a Friday, so they're still part of that space. So
it's become kind of a whānau feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it has often been referred to the attendees as, this is art group family or Drug Arm family.
Yeah, cool.
So it has been very, very special, but I think that's really been about, all art aside, the point has been that people have somewhere where they feel safe and to connect with other people and to express themselves as well. So
I love that. When a program becomes more than a program, when it becomes something that people belong to and that people feel ownership of.
Yes.
And it sounds like that's very much what's happened here.
Yeah.
Are the people that come in people that are already good artists, or
no?
Because I guess I interviewed an artist a number of episodes ago who, she got told at high school that she couldn't paint.
Right.
And 30 years later, she picked up a paintbrush again, and now she's a full-time artist selling throughout the world. Yes. But one of her things is she goes around and does workshops where people don't think they can, and she helps them figure out they can. So
absolutely.
Does that kind of thing happen here, where people discover stuff in themselves?
For sure, absolutely. And that's a really common scenario that I hear a lot from people, that someone somewhere along the line has told them that they can't do something, or they've been compared, or they compare themselves to someone else. The older brother is a real good painter or something, and they can't be like that, so therefore they can't paint. Those kind of mindsets are very, very common, and we definitely do a lot of work around that with them when they come through as well, because comparison to another person as well, or perfectionism, goes hand in hand with creativity. We definitely had, we often hear things in other settings where Artiste runs as well, where people will say, but I can't draw, straight away, and it's, well, can you make marks on paper? Is that something that you think is achievable? Because if you can do that, you're in. It's the only criteria that you need to kind of meet. So we've had, I remember one of our guys, art groupers, he had been through quite a lot recently and doing really, really well, but he came in for the, drug and alcohol support, that side of things, and he'd never done any painting before that he could recall, even at school, and he just started off doing the adult colouring pages, just colouring in, and now he is painting intricate, very complex paintings, and he's just smashing it. So it's great to see that kind of thing where people feel like they're giving the opportunity to give it a go as well,
Yeah.
and they take that on board. So that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
one of my favourite things, probably. Yeah.
Is one of the benefits of this whole thing that there is something for them to channel, to focus on, to I guess substitute for what they used to use their time for.
Yes, absolutely. I'm all about, especially as a drug and alcohol counsellor, you can take that substance out, you can take the drink out. What do you do to replace that big gaping hole in yourself, because it was serving a purpose? It's there for a reason. So what is it that you can do to replace that? What inspires you? What energises you? What encourages you? And looking into those kind of things. And because creativity isn't about the arts, it can be about such a broader thing, and creativity is around problem solving. So it's what is that for you? And I'm a believer that creativity is in every single person. It's just finding what that is as well. Right. I think that is a huge part of it.
Cool. So you've got this Friday group. You've expanded out now. You're going out and doing other workshops.
Yes.
He Wakatapu?
Yes. So I do a program in He Wakatapu residential program, the Māori Ora program. They come down to me, and I do a program with them called Creative License. And Creative License is, and I say this to them every time I do the spiel when somebody new comes along, it's not about artwork. It's about thinking outside the box, thinking differently for how things were. And so what I do with them within the group time is we will do an art activity that doesn't require any skill as such, and it's more along the lines of art therapy. I'm careful not to call myself an art therapist because I'm a drug and alcohol counsellor, but I do creative therapies. I'm not a qualified art therapist. But we do things in that space, which is, has a creative angle to it. And then I also get them to do a couple of different things during the week as well. And I don't call it homework as such, it's more like a task that they go away with and come back and talk about the experience. So some of that time is to do something where they're doing some self-care for themselves and what that actually looks like, and preparing for self-care once they graduate the program and they're back into their normal everyday lives, because self-care is such an important thing when you're early on the road to recovery. And also they are given a sheet of different options of tasks to choose from, and some of them are creative ones, some of them are very, very simple things, like answering a bunch of different questions and things like that about things they might not have considered for a long time, like who was somebody that inspired you as a child, what was the thing that they said to you that impacted you and is with you, you carry that today. So there's a bunch of little things that they can do during the week. Another one of those things is something simple like draw out your day without taking your pen off the paper, and just things which are not going to require any sort of perfectionist or any perfectionism or any sort of skill or anything. Yeah. So we do that program once a week with them while we're in there, and we do other things like go to the gallery. A lot of the people haven't experienced that before, so it's about seeing things differently. New experiences.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yes,
our very first episode was with Kerry Ewing, who was at Pathway Trust at the time, and one of his great legacies is the Navigate initiative, which is in the Christchurch Men's Prison. Yes. You've become involved in that initiative as well.
Yes.
First of all, what is it and how did you get involved in it?
Yeah, so the Navigate initiative is a reintegration community for men who are going to be released, coming up for parole. They're going to be released within the next around 9 to 12 months into Christchurch. So these are ones that are going to be, they've served the majority of their time, well not always, but within Christchurch Men's, and they're going to be released out into Christchurch. So what happens with them is that they have a whole lot of different agencies and services that come alongside them while they're in there, and it could be around restorative justice, employment options, courses, things to really set them up once they're out into the community, and to meet people that they can connect with as well inside the wire once they're released outside of the wire too. So part of what I have been doing out there is what was initially going to be started as a social enterprise, but it's taken on a little bit of its own sort of life instead of doing that. And it is about, well, it's screen printing, and the guys in there, incredibly talented men, they will come up with some beautiful design, and we will start printing those onto t-shirts, and they've been gifting them to whānau members, just getting really creative with it themselves as well, but being able to learn a new skill and being able to have a product at the end of it has been really, really fantastic. And the way that I got involved with that was Kerry approached me when he had heard that I'd done the screen printing business back in the day, and asked if that was something that I would be interested in doing. And I was initially quite reluctant because I'd had experience with running groups within the prison setting, and it wasn't the way that I roll with my strengths. To facilitate, you do drug and alcohol facilitation groups and things like that. That's something that we learn, but it wasn't what I was passionate about. So I was a bit, let's see how this goes. Now it's one of the highlights of my week to be able to go out and do that and see the excitement that the guys get from seeing their artwork bring on a new life. Be able to, they've got this print on shirts, they've got this beautiful product which they've actually created, and they didn't realise that they had that in them a lot of the time as well. So yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, and just, as far as the vision that Kerry had for that unit as well, amazing, and I'm very proud to be a part of that now. Absolutely, it's been a great thing to see happening.
I love the heart of the whole thing where, and I talked to Kerry about this, where the prison system is really set up to take people out of the minds of the community for a while and then just drop them back in it.
Yes.
And there are people doing good work around that, but the system itself is really harsh.
Yes.
And so for something like this to come in and go, hey, we actually value you, you have worth, we'd love to work alongside you, we'd love to see you grow and have new skills, and even the social skills of them coming to a class and engaging with one another, is great learning.
Absolutely.
For guys who may not have that experience.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, when I heard you did that, I was just really excited about that kind of thing, having worked for Pathway in the past myself.
Yes.
And seeing the trauma that prison can do to people. That you think about someone going to prison because of what they've done, but then what prison does to them is brutal.
Yes.
And so to have something like this to bring life and light and colour and creativity, I think is just beautiful. What sort of things have you seen in that environment that have just made your heart sing?
Oh yeah. There's been quite a few examples of it. I think one of the things that I absolutely love is because I go out there and a lot of the time they're not even aware that I'm a drug and alcohol counsellor. I'm a person that goes out there and I'm doing art with them. So what really inspires me is when they're coming in and they're attempting this with the screen printing, with the art, because there's other art that is happening out at the same time. But they just get that sense of comfort and the sense of being able to open up and have a conversation with you while they're creating, while they're in that place, while they're in that flow. And to be able to connect with people on that level, I think is so very important. And it's, I've connected with a few of the guys when they've been released after the program and they've come into the Art East space and they've said, look, we've done groups to death within there, and for us to be able to come in and express ourselves in this kind of way and be able to have these conversations which feel natural instead of conversations which feel like they're being monitored or they need to be controlled. You need to be careful what you say, because you do need to be careful what you say.
Totally.
When you're in prison. To be able to provide a space there which is, it's just a little bit of a relief of what they do in everyday prison life is something that is very, very special, and to be able to see a spark and the light and the excitement in their eyes when they get a result. That's what makes it worthwhile for me as well. Yeah.
And you've got dreams to take this outside of the prison?
Yes, absolutely. So part of what I really want to see happen within the artist space next is a community screen printing workshop, which is also one of the things about printing on pre-made t-shirts is if you have a bad printing run, then that t-shirt's basically scrap. It's not worthwhile. But I would love to be able to have a fabric studio where the actual garments are being constructed there as well and printed within the same space. Garments or things like bags or cushion covers, things like that, so that the whole product is actually being made on site. So that's something that I'm really, really keen to get on board. And because of course within inside the wire there's barriers when there's a product that's being made for sale, and things can get a little bit more complicated with that. It just makes things a little bit more easier, and it gives the guys another option for something that they can do once they're released and back out outside the wire. So that connection point is so important. There's a familiar face there. Actually, we know these people, and we've just got out yesterday, and here we are seeing the space that they've talked about when we were inside the wire.
Cool.
So
because for a lot of them, they get out and there's nothing for them.
Exactly.
So to have something like that for them could be really amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
And the great thing about the Navigate initiative too is setting the guys up with the supports, with the work, with the courses, with what it is that they need, accommodation. I mean, those basic things which sometimes they don't have. Setting them up to actually succeed and not fail.
Just thinking, the way that you're talking about the guys in prison and the ones who come to your workshops and things, one of the big things that I've talked to a number of guests about is treating people as people. And so many of these ones that you're working with are the sort of people that have been written off by society. What makes you so passionate about wanting to treat them as people and give that mana back to them?
Drug arm itself, we get often a lot of the ones that have become quite disillusioned with other agencies too, quite hurt. There's a lot of course, drug and alcohol problems, but mental health, which goes hand in hand. There's we've got quite a few physical disabilities as well, homelessness, all of those kind of things which tend to be difficult for people. And what happens to those people when they are at the point where they've been through so many different agencies within Christchurch, and potentially they're going to keep on using because the trauma or the damage that they've also done to their minds, to their brains, to their bodies, all of those things has actually become a barrier to them being able to be treated in a traditional and medical setting. Sometimes that it is quite likely that they may never actually stop taking that substance because things have gotten so bad for them that they just don't know how to now. And especially that comes out a lot with trauma, because people will react to protect themselves and things, and the trust there is it's very, very difficult to get that trust there to be able to do work if you've only got 6 sessions where you're sitting in front of a drug and alcohol counsellor, or you're in a residential program for just 2.5 months or whatever that time frame is. So for me, it's what happens to those people? What happens to the ones that are unlovely, so to speak, and society really, really struggles with because the behaviours, some of the behaviours are out the gate. What do you do with those people because they are still people? And we constantly hear one of the frustrating things about being in the drug and alcohol sector as well is people not meeting criteria for certain things. And that must be hard, and it is hard from my own experience as well, to be asking for help, but not really knowing what it is that you want as well, not knowing that. So it's one of those things. I'm all about, the unlovely, I suppose.
And wanting that help, but not quite measuring up to being bad enough.
Yes, absolutely. Come back when things have gotten a lot worse, because right now your problems aren't quite big enough. I've experienced that with people I've walked through with pastoral care and particularly around mental health stuff of people that are actually seriously unwell and yet they're not unwell enough for the system to recognise them. And to the point where they have to do something drastic to get some help. And I just see it all over the place. I'm a school board member as well, and for a kid to get the sort of help that we know that kid needs, they have to get stood down a number of days and then suspended, and then the help can kick in. Absolutely.
So So I've seen that a lot, and I really appreciate how you're going, well, actually it's those people that society doesn't know what to do with, and also acknowledging that the behaviours are not great. This isn't about, hey, they're being written off, but they're actually lovely. So no, some of them are really hard work. But that doesn't mean we should give up. That's really cool. What other hopes do you have for all of this art space? Have you got any other big dreams where you'd like it to go?
Yes, I do have big dreams. One of the things that I'm really keen on as well is just being able to have an open studio space where it is a point of connection as well, because I have limited skills, I'm just one person and things, but if somebody has something that they're wanting to try that's creative, that I am also a connection point to.
Cool.
So to be able to link people with other creative minded people that are in Christchurch, to be able to just provide something where people can come and say, this has always been, I don't know what I want to do with this, I don't know what it is, but I would always been keen on trying this particular thing, and we'd be able to make that as a bit of a connection point too. So always more mediums that I'm keen to be getting involved into this space, and so I have more groups would be fantastic. Like I said, with this fabric studio, being able to have the printing workshop and things running from here, and to be able to have more groups where people can come and be able to just have a place, a point of connection too as well.
I look forward to seeing where all of this goes. It's obviously grown already from what it was to something else, and so
it has.
It's exciting to think that there's a lot more potential for it. And, so wish you all the best for all of that. How can people find out more about Art East? How can they support what you're doing? Is there ways, can people give financially? Can people give time? What is it that would be helpful?
Absolutely. So the best way to contact us is through our website. There is a very nice and easy donate now button as far as financial support, and also my details are all on there, email, phone number. If anybody for a start needs help, actual support themselves, there is that link through the website, and also there can be a contact too, to email me and say, hey, I've heard about Art East, I'm interested in, I have this particular creative skill, and is there anything that I can do to support? It's also another avenue that could be utilised.
Cool.
So it would be fantastic.
And what's the website?
So that's for Drug Arm Christchurch.
Cool.
So yes, yeah,
Awesome.
and that will bring up the Art East link with it as well.
Nice.
Yes.
And I'll put that in the show notes so people can go and find that. And
Brilliant.
and get to it really easily. So, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for what you are doing for all of the different people that you're interacting with and inviting into this creative expression, this creative journey. And thank you for what you're doing to bring a bit of heaven down to earth.
Thank you, Andy.
Hello, hello heaven. Will I hear you whisper to come near?
Oh man, this conversation just pushes all the right buttons for me. Liz is someone who is making a difference with the skills that she has, someone who's making a difference because of the past that she has, someone who has taken the opportunities presented to her and looked to use them for good, and someone who quite clearly comes alive in the midst of it all. Liz, you're so inspiring, and it was a pleasure to have you on the podcast. As is my custom, Liz, here is a blessing for you. Liz, may your creativity flourish and grow as you enable the same for others. May you always remember the trials through which you have come, and may they forever inspire you to fight for others. As a painting starts with just one stroke and gradually takes form, sometimes not even in the artist's mind to begin with, may Art East continue from these early brushstrokes towards a form that blows away even you as you see the magnificent picture she becomes. May you receive connections and support from unexpected places, allowing your realities to surpass even your dreams. May every story of every person who you have helped come to you when times are tough and give you the strength you need to keep going, to pick up your brush and keep painting, to keep printing, to keep dreaming. And may you know deep in your soul your immense value, regardless of all this work. And may that continue to inspire you to help others find value in themselves too. Thanks to Strawn for the music and Rangi for the karakia. Thanks to you all for listening. Join me next time when I talk to James Harris, who used to live and work in Nauru, home to an Australian detention centre, who was later responsible for a campaign to get New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern to visit this centre, and who now lives and works with youth in an Aboriginal community in the outbacks of the lands we now call Australia. Until then, me inoi tātou.
E tō mātou matua I te rangi, kia tapu tō ingoa, kia tau mai tō rangatiratanga, kia mea te tau e pai ai ki runga ki te whenua, kia rite anō ki tō te rangi. Humai kia mātou ai nei, he taro mā mātou mō tēnei rā. Muro o mātou hara, me mātou hoki e muru nei I o te hunga, e hara ana kia mātou. Aua hoki mātou e kawea, kia whakawaia. Engari whakaorangi a mātou I te kino.